Okay, so in the last video we played about with a couple of kind of different techniques. We looked at creating still matte images, so just a plain colour, and we looked at introducing or creating title text, which we then animated moving. What we're going to look at is the audio. I'm going to expand the audio for you just now, and if we can expand this we'll be able to see the waveform. I've muted it at the moment just so that it's not kind of playing back when I'm scrubbing over this. This yellow line here kind of indicates the volume or the decibel level of the sequence, which can also be looked at through here when we expand the volume, and this can be changed. Now remember that this will create an auto key if I change the level. If you feel that the audio is too loud and you go to adjust it by turning it down, it's created this auto key, and that will remain the same value throughout the rest of the video sequence, or the rest of the time for the audio to play, the duration. I'm just going to undo that by just Control Z, stepping back. It was just a coincidence when I hit Control Z that it saved. I thought I pressed the wrong shortcut there. So yeah, what I think we'll look at doing is looking at creating a kind of fade in effect, similar to the transition effect that we had with the opacity of the video layer, which allowed us to kind of create that kind of fade in from a start point and an end point. So we'll lock all of this just now. We're just going to come down to the audio layer. So once I select that, my effects control light up is ready for me to rock and roll. So what we're going to do is initially create a keyframe at this point, and what I'm going to do is down to around about here and create this keyframe. Now, and then I'm going to go back to the start and I'm going to reduce the audio level right down, okay, so that it's basically not going to play. It's going to take a wee while to fade in. Okay, so let's test that just now just by playing. So we can hear the audio becoming louder. Let's go right back and select that keyframe and reduce it even further. Make sure that it's right down, so hopefully we don't hear anything at all and it just fades in. You can hear it again louder now. Now, where this can be quite useful is, say for example, if you can imagine almost like a radio show where somebody is talking over the top, or you've got a video sequence where there's dialogue, but you want to have background music. This is where you can look at editing and dipping the volume. So, for example, let's place a keyframe here, and we'll dip the audio. Okay, so it's a lot quieter for the duration of the time that somebody is speaking, and then perhaps maybe we want to bring it back up again, so we'll bring it back up again. I'll just click and type in 0 there, so it comes back up again. Now what's happened here is, you'll notice if you have a look here, in fact if I expand this for you, you'll be able to see it as well. Okay, it's going in this kind of pyramid effect, which is not really ideal, because what's happening is the audio is fading in at this point, then it's fading down again, then it's fading back up again, and it doesn't have a kind of rest point. So that's where what we would be looking to try and achieve is, perhaps at this point here, adding a keyframe and bringing the value down to match this point here, okay, so that it just remains the same and then fades back in again. And at this point, if you can imagine perhaps having some audio within this video sequence here, or dialogue of somebody talking, and it's just a case of then you looking at that waveform and adjusting the keyframes to kind of suit that kind of transition effect. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of all of these keyframes. In fact, I'll leave the first two as they are, just to have that kind of fade in. Obviously, as you increase the distance between the keyframes, you're obviously increasing the time, so the longer it's going to take for that effect to take place. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import a another audio track in, and we'll just kind of crossfade the two of those over manually. So I'm going to import a file. Now I don't actually have this at the moment within this video tutorial folder, so what I'll do is I'll cancel that desktop and I'll add it into the folder. So pause the video just now while I do that for you. Okay, so I'm just going to import another audio file, and I'll make sure that I have that audio file in my audio folder. Okay, I'm just going to collapse these two guys. So I'm going to just bring this audio track down. I'm going to place it on the second audio layer. Now, if I start scrubbing through the sequence, okay, now what's different, I guess, about the audio tracks is that if I play this just now, you're going to hear this mess. Okay, it's a really bad mashup of Radiohead and Led Zeppelin playing together. You know, what's different, I guess, with the audio tracks being layered to the video tracks is the video tracks can hide what's underneath them, particularly if they're the exact same size. They can hide any layers below it. The difference is obviously the audio tracks are all audio, they can play all at the one time, so you're going to be able to hear them unless they are specifically muted. So what we're going to have a wee look at doing is just a kind of simple fade transition between these two audio tracks. So I'm going to just move this slightly into position. So we'll make it roughly about just about here. So I'm going to go to the start of this audio track, which I have selected at the moment, and with volume selected I'm going to record an auto key, and then I'm going to move in ever so slightly to about here, and I'll create another key. Right? Now I'm not going to change the values of these yet, and the reason why I'm not going to do that is because I'm going to use the position of my time slider to jump now to this audio track, create an auto key. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back to this point here, and to make sure that I'm exact, I'll make sure that I'm right on top of that keyframe, jump back to this audio track. Okay, and in fact that's just jumped there for me, so let's just move that back again now. Match it up. And create this keyframe. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade this audio track out while this audio track is fading in. So let's go to this keyframe here, make sure it's selected, and we'll drop the decibel level down. Okay, now what's happened here is you'll notice I've added in an extra keyframe that I didn't want, so that's just due to me not being exactly on top of that keyframe. So I'm going to reduce that right down, okay, until it fades out to nothing. And what we're going to do is go back to the Led Zeppelin track here, select that, make sure I'm bang on this keyframe, so just zoom in, make sure I'm on the keyframe, and we'll reduce this right down. Okay, so you can now see these are going in opposite directions, where this is starting to fade out and this is starting to fade in, which should hopefully have a manual crossover for us. So let's test that at this point here. Okay, so that's what, well, okay, it's not too bad, but obviously you could spend a lot more time kind of tweaking that and adjusting the time scale between the start point and the end point of this keyframe, and the start point and end point of this keyframe. But trying to kind of keep them matched up is key to try and make it almost like a seamless transition. I'm just going to go to the end here and use in fact we'll zoom out, and just so that I can find the end of this audio track and trim it, bring it right in. Okay, just to keep everything kind of neat and tidy. Okay, now if you find yourself accidentally grabbing these yellow lines and moving them, and what's happening is you're actually changing the decibel rating. So just be careful if you do that. You might want to kind of undo it or go back up here and check the levels just to see how that's affected. So this has started to bring together a majority of techniques that we could go about using to build a kind of composition in a video sequence. The next things that we'll have a look at is probably using a variety of layers, and also looking at exporting the video clip itself. So we'll look at those in the next couple of tutorials.